welcome to Life an Inside Job. Today I'm talking to nutritional therapist Severine Menem about what sort of things you can eat to reduce or get rid of menopause symptoms before you start even thinking about taking supplements. It's just so easy to fall for the marketing when you're in a health food shop to buy supplements and grab a pill and pop it down in the hope that it'll make things easier. But there are far cheaper and more sustainable and more effective ways of getting all the nutrients you need, as Severine describes in this interview. Severine is a menopause specialist and a health coach and a nutritional therapist for women over 40 who are struggling with menopause symptoms. And she's also a menopause trainer for corporates who are looking to establish initiatives and support their female talent and to retain them and to help them perform at their best. And she's in her late 40s, so she totally knows what she's talking about from the inside. And she got rid of and or reduced her menopause symptoms and hypothyroidism through diet and lifestyle changes. Just a small warning for vegans and vegetarians. This is literally a meaty podcast. There is steak involved in this. So I'm really sorry. All the veggies and vegans out there, you may not want to listen to this one and you're going to have to wait a little while. But don't be cross because I have a really special guest coming up soon who's going to tell you all about how to eat well as a vegan and a vegetarian for menopause. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for all the amazing quantity of output that you have on your YouTube channel and the resources on your website and your Instagram. There is you offer a phenomenal amount of really helpful, grounded information for nothing.
Yeah, okay. I think it's not for nothing because I'm able to do that because people have inspired me to do that. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to inspire other women to look after their health or other practitioners to just help their clients too.
I think it's working. I was just knocked out by how in depth it was actually. There's a tendency to offer sort of superficial sound bites, and I was really planning for like, all right, I could really digest and go deeper with some of the information. It was really helpful. Made me think.
Okay, I didn't realize it was so much in depth, but yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah, I really liked it. Something I'm often asked is about whether somebody in perimenopause should take supplements. There's a lot of confusion about it.
Yeah.
And I, in my personal looking after my health, I find it overwhelming. Mm-hmm. The complexity and all the different information is really overwhelming. So I thought I would ask someone who knows their stuff.
Yes, it's I think it's a minefield. Supplementation for menopause, it's really a minefield. Especially because now it's like every single lab is launching a range of supplements for menopause or perimenopause. It's like, why? I mean, all this offering is just for us. So why shouldn't I try? And supplementation is not as easy as it seems because first it's to supplement a diet. So for me, it's like if the diet is not right, the supplements are unlikely to have an effect.
Okay, say that again. If the diet, I'm going to say it, if the diet is not right,
yes,
then the supplements are unlikely to have an effect.
Yes, and actually it's not just the diet because it's also sleep, it's also movement, it's also stress management. These four things work together.
So do you mean that you have to sort your diet and your sleep and your movement before it's even worth looking at supplements?
And stress management.
And stress. I forgot that.
Yes, stress is a big one, actually.
I forgot that. How interesting.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say we have to sort it out, but we have to start somewhere. And then as we work on one thing, it will improve something else, usually. So from the moment you're doing something, I think, okay, fine, using supplementation might help. But if you're using supplementation instead of doing anything else, it's unlikely to work. It's not like a magic pill, you know, like antibiotics. You've got something and you take antibiotics and it goes away. It's a much milder approach. And so you have to know what supplements you need to take for what you have, and be sure that what you take is the right answer to your problem, which is not necessarily the case. You have to have the right dosage, the right form of supplementation, to take it at the right time of the day, know how long you need to take it for, and you know if it interacts with other medication or other supplementation. So this makes it very complicated.
So is there any chance of anybody getting anything right without professional help? I'm like, oh.
Well,
I'm lying on my back, waving my arms and legs in the air. It's like, I'm never going to get that right.
If you, without any knowledge, I think it may happen, but it's highly unlikely in the end.
Okay.
And also supplementations nowadays, especially for everything menopause, you know, it is not just vitamins, minerals, it involves herbs and omega-3 and so on. So usually women take other medications. So you really have to make sure that it doesn't interact. For example, you know, some herbs are really good for menopause, but they're really bad for the pill.
Right.
In the sense that they don't protect from becoming pregnant. So on one hand, you might, you know, improve your symptoms, but on the other hand, you might create other problems and get pregnant and so on. So it's tricky. But I really want to remain positive. Supplements do help.
Okay.
It's just
can we circle back right to the beginning and talk about what the right food is? Just a rundown.
Okay, for me, the right food is first water. It is or it isn't a food, but for me, well done. For me, it's
I'm just raising my glass.
Yeah, and I just had a sip and realized, you know, actually my bottle was empty. Anyway, so water is really the basis of everything. Our body is mainly water, and water is used for so many pathways, and we really need water just for digestion, for lubrication of the joints, for, I don't know, I'm not going to list them all, but it's really the basis. And water is not liquid, which is sometimes that is really confusing, because a lot of women drink a lot of tea or coffee or juice. Yeah, juicing is a big one at the moment, but it's not the same as water. So we need to make sure that we hydrate our body enough, and it's throughout the day as well, because sometimes some people, they forget to drink, you know, throughout the day, and then they realize at the end of the day their bottle is completely full, and it's just you know, have the whole thing in half an hour. It's not what we're meant to do, and then, you know, they wake up during the night. So for me, water is really the basis of everything. And once you drink enough water, typically, you know, you sleep better, you have less headache, you are less hungry, you are more energized. Lots of benefits you wouldn't imagine is just down to water. So first one. The second one is to have more protein, especially as we're getting older. I think women try to avoid proteins for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that's from my experience with my clients. And protein, and especially protein from animal origin, are very important at this age, because it brings essential amino acids. And I know there is this whole tendency to go vegan and vegetarian, and that could be good, but it creates deficiencies, and taking just B12 or iron is not necessarily is not necessarily going to offset the fact that other minerals or amino acids are in the meat and not, in your supplementation.
If or when you have a vegetarian or vegan client, what sort of protein do you recommend they take?
That's the thing. Now, I don't take on board vegan or vegetarian clients.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I've come to the point where I really want to offer the best service. And for me, it's not in my belief that being vegan or vegetarian is the best form of diet. So it doesn't mean that it can't be right for them. It means that I'm just a wrong health practitioner to help them.
Okay.
Because I really emphasize it's important to eat meat or fish or eggs. And that's why, there are so many nutritionists who can help better than me in that case.
So we have, we're drinking water throughout the day consistently.
Yeah.
I always do that.
Well done.
No, actually, I don't. I lie. But it's very human to forget, your water bottle's empty.
Yes.
But the nice thing about hydration is that you can always have a glass of water.
Yes,
it's
always.
nearly always available.
And so I think when you manage to get the habit of starting the day with a large glass of water at room temperature, then the whole day is easier.
It's better.
It's better and easier.
It is
exactly.
It's true. I absolutely agree.
It's the hardest. I know that. But then once you're there, everything is easier.
So I'm hydrated. I have protein for breakfast, protein for lunch. What else do I need to include in my diet?
Protein for dinner as well.
Protein. You got me. Protein dinner, in the evening.
And in snacks. Basically, the idea is to get between 20 and 25 grams of proteins per meal.
Okay.
What else can you do? Okay, once you do, so the protein, I didn't say, but they are going to keep you full and prevent you from having these sugar cravings and keep your energy levels really steady throughout the day. So that's why it's super important. And I think once you get there, you add that to your diet, or you introduce and increase that to your diet, your food preferences will be completely different. So from that point, I think it's much easier to cut the crap. All the junk food, all the sweet food, everything we know is typically wrong for us. So that would be my third step.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was introduced to the idea of protein being really important, that I should have more of it, and I feel a lot more steady and grounded. And I think that's to do with the blood sugar. I think because I'm much less woo.
Yes.
I'm waving my arms in the air like a Muppet.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but it's especially more important as we're getting older, as I mentioned before, because we need to keep our bone health and muscle mass, and that really contributes to it. On top of building neurotransmitters, neurotransmitters and hormones. It's also in the building block of cells. It is just an essential macronutrients.
Anything else we should be making a regular part of our diet?
Yeah, the fruits and vegetables, the 5 a day. But it's been hammered so many times now. We know it's good for us. So it's not like a new thing. It's just like emphasizing the message and the good fats. But again, I think the good fats is now in the mainstream message. So that's much better.
And can you just say what those are in case somebody doesn't know?
Okay, good fats. So for me, good fats is oil, as in olive oil, coconut oil, also olives, avocado, all the oily fish. So salmon, mackerel, anchovy. Salmon, mackerel, anchovy, herrings, sardines, also tuna, fresh tuna, not tin tuna, and truth.
I'm not sure what those are.
Truth. Okay, let's forget about that.
And there isn't an issue with mercury in the fish?
Yes.
Heavy metals?
Yeah, the bigger the fish, the more likely there is to have mercury, because they are at the end of the food chain. So they stay longer in the sea and
so little
accumulate.
fishes are better. Can I still have? So I can still have anchovies.
Yeah, they're perfect. Tiny fish on your
anchovies.
pizza. Yes.
Okay, so I'm well hydrated. I'm having protein in my snacks and 3 times a day in my meals, and healthy fats and lots of fruit and vegetables, and I still feel like shit.
Okay.
What is my next step?
Okay, so
to define the shit, it would be, say, exhaustion and a lack of joie de vivre.
Okay, so once we've got all that right, I think I would look at the sleep.
Okay.
Are you optimizing your sleep routine and your sleep hygiene? And I know there is this issue between menopause triggering sleep issues, but at the same time, I think a lot of sleep could be improved by just having a better hygiene, as in, stopping all the blue lights like 3 hours before going to bed, having a really quiet evening, some kind of really relaxing time, not having, in terms of diet, it's important what you eat before going to bed.
Oh yes, what shall I eat? There's a bedtime snack.
Bedtime? No, that's really bad.
It's bad?
Yeah, it's bad. You should stop eating like 2 to 3 hours before going to bed, and send.
But I'll be hungry.
Well, then you're having the wrong dinner. And also stopping, all liquids at the same time as dinner. Otherwise, you'll get up during the night, and then it's nightmare to get back into sleep. But so ideally, in the evening, you have some good proteins. I mean, some proteins because and good fats, because they take longer to digest. So you're typically fuller for longer, and also they keep your blood sugar really steady. So that sometime when you wake up around 3, 4 in the morning, it could be the fact that you're completely digested and your blood sugar level is so low that you wake up because your body is calling for some sugar or something to eat. So a solution to that could be just before going to bed, exceptionally until you fix your diet, you have like a teaspoon of something like nut sugar, like peanut butter, almond butter, or I don't know what nut butter you have.
Barack Obama has 7 almonds before he goes to sleep.
Okay. Yeah, it's but the trick with nuts is it's sometimes when we do too much of the same thing, it could be negative, and we can accumulate something like oxalate, for example, which has some side effects. But I don't want to go into this negative thing, because it can be just an exception.
Okay, so we've now fixed our sleep. Anything else? Stress.
If you feel shit, or stress. Well, if you're eating well, the stress is more about finding a better routine.
Okay.
And building resilience. So it could be more about, I don't know, walking, exercising, or taking up meditation, or for some women, it's just about sharing things, or managing the workload, or, it could be different things for different women. So it's everyone has a different amount of stress that they're fine with, and then it becomes overload, and everyone is different in the way they want to deal with their stress. But that's a good idea, and we have obviously food that helps with that, but supplementation like magnesium is usually very beneficial, or L-theanine as well.
Okay, so what sort of, because there are different kinds of magnesium, aren't there?
Yes.
So can you say a little about that?
I tend to use magnesium biglycinate. Because it's more absorbed, more easily available. So it means that you take it and the body uses it better than all the forms. It depends also for what, but that's the one I would recommend in the case of stress.
There's magnesium for a lot of menstrual and menopause issues tends to be the sort of catch-all, the cure-all. Take more magnesium.
Yeah, you've got a magnesium for constipation and one for brain thing and the muscle, and it's just It just depends. But yeah, I think magnesium biglycinate is apart from constipation is one that is pretty good.
Okay, cool. So maybe it would help if we talked about specifics, so like specific symptoms that come up and how you might supplement for those.
Can I come back to your previous question about,
Yeah.
you do all the right thing for the food and you start taking supplements and you sleep well and you manage your stress, but you're too tired to exercise, so you leave it aside. You still go outside to get the fresh air. I think if you've done that, hang on, my delivery.
I hope it's something nice.
Oh no, I came back from holiday and the tap was leaking.
Oh, that's very poor.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll come upstairs or not, but anyway. So what I was saying is, if you do everything right from a holistic perspective, but you don't get any result or you don't get good result enough, I think you should get to the next stage, which is looking for HRT or anything medical, because you can't stay in a place where you don't feel well. Menopause or the menopause transition can last for a few years. And it's not because it finishes that the symptoms disappear as well. So that's why you really need, or at least it's very important that you try to make the best of what is happening, and by looking for the solution that really suits you.
So you would recommend a visit to the GP or doctor or hopefully the menopause specialist at the local surgery before you take supplementation?
No, I would recommend supplementation before going to the GP.
Okay. All
it's
right.
like you do everything holistic right, but supplementation is part of the package.
Okay. I was just trying to clarify. Okay. Right. Yeah. So maybe if we speak to particular symptoms, what is the most common thing that your clients present with you?
For me, they mostly come to me for weight loss.
Okay.
And
now
then
that is a hot topic, is it not?
Yes.
So should we talk about menopause?
Yeah. It's an evergreen topic for women, but the menopause is just emphasizes even more. So yes. So what would you like to know?
Well, I think that some weight gain in midlife is helpful and natural and to be embraced, actually.
Why do you think it's helpful?
Because I think there's a relationship between weight loss and bone health. And because I think that in order to weather the identity change of menopause, this thing about shedding our body armor, shedding our protection, it's kind of helpful to have a bit of fat because we are in such a vulnerable place through that time.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. But nature has also allowed us to produce estrogen from our fat tissues. So that's also very helpful, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's relative. It's not that extreme. A large amount of weight gain is never going to be helpful or healthy. But to some extent, I think that it sort of eases the stress and panic to know that it's normal.
Yeah, but I read studies say that we should only gain 3 pounds during the transition, which is very little weight, and very few women actually only gain 3 pounds. So
what is normal, do you think?
The women I work with, the weight didn't happen during menopause. It started before.
Okay.
and then they couldn't lose any weight, and they were fed up with that, and they just decided that that's it.
Okay.
For
So
most of them.
So that's a different thing. So
Yes.
the difficulty is that not that it's going on, that it's gaining more quickly in menopause. It's that it's not losing it's not going as quickly as they have been used to. Is that?
Well, it depends. So some women, they've always been kind of overweight, and they come to the point that now that's it. They just want to get rid of it, and they will learn how to do it properly, rather than the quick fixes. Or they used to be able to put on weight, lose weight, very easily because they knew their body. But from a certain age, it doesn't work anymore, and they feel stuck. So they want to learn how their body works. They want to work with their hormones, understand, how to stop the quick fixes and look more at a long-term view.
Yeah. So so that, I imagine that requires the dietary recommendations that you spoke about earlier.
Yes. Yeah. It's about taking the time to make the changes. It's about taking like one small step at a time. And it's about, learning how the body works and how to respond to it. And it's definitely not a quick fix, but they're very, they love it. They love to understand, how nutrition works for them, how their body works, and they feel a lot more confident. I mean, obviously happy with the result, but confident that they are going to keep it up, and they understand. Yeah, they understand the whole thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel so soothed and calmed and reassured by hearing that. It's so different to the mainstream dialogue of hysteria about weight.
Yeah.
So much misery. So perhaps you could give us your top 3 supplements, and because we've talked about magnesium. What else do you commonly recommend?
Magnesium is one of them, definitely. Omega-3, really good for inflammation, really good for the brain.
So how would somebody understand if they had inflammation in their system?
For example, if they had pain, or if I can see in their diet that they're definitely not having any fat, or if they're very low in oily fish, this kind of thing. Yeah, so that would be the second one. And the third one, I guess it would depend on the person. It could be someone who was abusing sugar, could be chromium to help stop the sugar craving and ease the transition. That could be super useful. Or it could be just a general multi supplement for some women who had very, very severe diet in terms of crash diets, trying to lose weight quickly. And then they completely cut some groups of foods and then end up with some deficiency or insufficiency. Then that would be a good one. But it really depends on the person.
Yeah, and I, all this comes with the proviso that we're talking generalizations.
Absolutely.
I respect your professional integrity, but I'm sort of asking the impossible of you to talk about this stuff, because it is so personal, and our systems and diets and lives are also unique.
Yeah, that's the thing with nutrition. It's just answering question is just answering for the majority of women, because you can always find the person for whom this doesn't work. And then that's it, you've got it wrong, but you don't have it wrong because you're trying to make a general answer, but it's really hard, really hard.
So I'm thank you. Thank you for stepping up to do this. So in terms of resources, where do you well, your clients, of course, have you.
Yes.
But for the rest of us who aren't your clients, can you recommend resources where people can educate themselves? Where do we go to really reliable information?
That's a really good question. I've actually written a book over the summer that comes out in the UK in January.
Yes. And what's it called?
It's going to be called, gosh, I don't know if I'm allowed to do
Oh, you're
it.
not allowed yet. Okay, well, we can fluff that.
Well, it goes into printing this week, and I asked the editor, can I share now about? And she said, well, it's not 3 months before the big launch, so I'd rather you not discuss anything. Yeah. So I really want to, but
okay, but we'll wait for Severine's book in January.
Yes.
It's about menopause and food.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful book. The first part is about nutrition in general for menopause, and the second part is going to be 80 plus recipes. So breakfast, main meal, and snacks and drinks, and yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So looking forward to that. Yes.
Yeah, congratulations. That is
Thank you.
Massive.
It is. Okay. I just couldn't believe that.
Oh, fantastic. And while we're waiting till January, where do we look?
While you're waiting, it's what kind of information would be interested in?
Well, which supplements to take, how much, and when. It's all the sort of variations you were talking about in the beginning.
Okay. About supplementation, I couldn't recommend anything because it's really personal, and only a health practitioner who has studied that and know your circumstances will know exactly what to suggest.
Okay.
I know that in some books related around menopause or perimenopause, they mention some supplementation, but I disagree with the fact that, I agree with them suggesting that, but someone who knows nothing about that, I don't understand how they would pick the right dosage, the right everything for them, if it makes sense.
Yeah. So is it worth taking multivitamins that are designed, multivitamins in general, or multivitamins that are marketed for menopause? What do you think about that?
Well, if you've got a really bad diet, yes, definitely.
If you have a bad diet.
If you have a bad diet, or a diet that is is lacking some nutrients, yes, but not on a permanent basis. I would say take 1 tub a quarter, just to make sure. But the only way to know really what's your nutrient status is to take a test, and then you will know for sure what's missing.
Right. But that is something, you can order the test, but you would still need a nutritionist to interpret it, though.
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
Depending on the lab, you will need the nutritionist or the practitioner to order the test on your behalf. And then when you receive the results, they would tell you, vitamin A, B, whatever, and where it is in the range. And then you will know what to supplement with. Which one to supplement.
Okay.
You wouldn't necessarily know the dosage and everything, but at least you know what's missing from your body.
Yeah. Okay. And where is your best resource to find a nutritionist?
The best results? Well, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm actually a nutritional therapist.
What's the difference?
It's really good question. I have no idea. Well, actually, there is a massive difference between dietitians, nutritionists, and nutritional therapists.
Oh my God. And what about functional medicine? Because that's in the bag as well.
Yeah, okay. Functional medicine is such a tricky question. Okay, I am trained in functional medicine. So basically, functional medicine is a way to understand that when there is something wrong, you don't just deal with the symptoms. You try to understand what is the cause of this issue, and you work on the cause so that once you solve the cause, the symptoms disappear. And that's what we're trying to do as nutritional therapists. Basically, we're trying to understand, okay, a person has acne, so what causes the acne? And it could be many reasons, and the same for depression and so on. So So that's the way to do things. Nutritional therapists believe that the body is, when there is an issue, the body is in imbalance, and using a holistic way to make it whole again. Does it make sense?
A holistic way.
Yeah, holistic as in not using any medication.
Okay.
The only thing we use is
so you look at lifestyle and food.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Stress and the relationships
and that's the whole functional medicine approach. Okay. It's using what's available to heal the body. Well, nutritionists and dietitians work more on the way that they follow the government guidelines, and they're not as people-centered.
Okay.
As we are. For us, each person is different, and we're trying to understand the whole picture of what's going on with the body, outside the body, and try to help this person and really have a very personalized approach. Was the dietitians who work in hospital settings and the nutritionists have more of an approach of the government recommends this amount of, I don't know, vitamin D, let's do that. On the other hand, we would do a vitamin D test, find out how much is missing, and then suggest a supplementation in order to fix the vitamin D deficiency within like 3 months, for example. Okay. So there are formulas and things like that. Does it make sense now?
Yeah. Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So people can choose according to their worldview and how much change they're willing to make in their life, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And we like, we like to test, to do some testing to understand, where we're coming from and what we need to do, because otherwise there is a bit of guessing. So we do functional testing to know where we're going and what's the best approach to try to understand the root cause of things. Okay.
And what do you think about hair mineral analysis? Do you use that?
To understand about toxins, it can be useful.
Okay. So let's also talk about, because we're talking about what we're taking into our system nutritionally, let's also talk about toxins, seeing as we've tootled in that direction, because that has a massive impact on our health.
For women, yes, the xenoestrogen.
Would you care to talk about what sort of toxins are commonly show up in people's systems?
As in heavy metals, or
everything. What sort of toxins show up in our bodies in midlife, and why, and what do we do about it?
Okay, so basically,
come and talk me. Could you talk to me for an hour, supplements? And I'm like, hello, please give me the moon, not once but twice.
Yes,
that's such a big topic. I know.
Toxin is huge, because everything basically now is pretty much toxin. Even the air we breathe here in London, there are so many tiny nanoparticles that they become toxin. It's not the same toxin as before. But let's reframe for women, in menopausal age, or for people in general. So for people in general, it's important to know that anything we eat becomes toxin. So we need to get rid of it. And the body has wonderful ways to detoxify, using the kidney, the bowel movements, the skin, and that's the three main one. And so you can impact the detoxification on working on those. So for the kidney, you drink more water. For the bowel movement, you make sure that your bowel movements are good and regular. So ideally a minimum of once a day, or more if you're more vegan and vegetarian, because you will absorb, or you will have more fibers in your diet. So you will, essentially, get rid of more material. When it comes to liver detoxification, I forgot liver detoxification, a big one. So the liver detoxification is in 3 phases, and then you can impact on these phases according to the foods that you eat. So the first one is about making the food that you eat more, gosh, I can't remember, fat soluble, I think. Oh no, actually, I don't remember. That's really bad.
That's okay. We can, when you remember, you can tell me and I'll put it underneath the.
Let me Google that. Gosh, it's really bad. I've not had to explain that for so long. Liver detox. Yes. Okay, so yes, so the first phase is about making the toxins more fat soluble. And the second phase is about making the toxin who have become more fat soluble, more water soluble, so that they can be excreted via the kidney, gallbladder, bowel, and so on. Mm-hmm. And so you can influence on each phase according to what you eat. So for the first phase, because you want them more fat soluble, so you would eat, for example, more vitamin A or D or E, which are typical fat soluble vitamins.
And that's in your food, right?
That can be in your food, or you can have some certain supplementation for that.
Okay.
And so that's an example. Mm. And so this is detoxification of the liver, and I've mentioned the skin. So for the skin, you can do sauna or skin brush, this kind of thing are really good, because the skin, after all, is the largest organ of the body in the area. So that's how we can make sure that it works well.
That's fantastic.
Have I answered your question?
What about plastics?
Oh, plastic. Okay, so more about the toxin that we ingest.
Xenoestrogen.
The xenoestrogen. So basically, it's molecules that are foreign from the body, but that mimic the shape or the estrogen molecule. And because of that, the body assumes that it's proper estrogen and will bind to the estrogen receptor and create havoc, because it's not the proper estrogen. So it's like, but it won't do the function of it, if it makes sense. So, and then it can trigger a lot of cancers, a lot of the issues. And the best way, it's really hard to get rid of these toxins. So the best way to do it is actually to prevent it by making sure that you're not using plastic. I think the worst one is the cling film. Because once it touches the food, then some of the toxin gets from the cling film into the food. So if you have to have cling film, then just don't let it touch the food. Then you can use some glass recipients. Try to avoid everything which is non-sticky, and instead go for stainless steel or the heavy pans. There are a lot of things that you can do, but it's a mindset. It's not going to, you have to change the whole thing or nothing. Otherwise, you won't necessarily see the difference.
Okay. But it's so worth it.
It is so worth it, yeah. And while we're discussing toxin, the toxins that are in the water are very impressive. So I would highly recommend to invest in a filtered system.
All right. So what sort of filtered system do you recommend?
The one that I use at the moment is Berkey, but reverse, as in that's the name of a brand, which is really good.
How do you spell that?
Berkey.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
And there's another system called reverse osmosis that also helps with removing some toxins. It depends on where you live and what you want to remove, basically.
Okay, I'll put those as links underneath so that people can find them and see what they think.
Great.
There's so much. We're running out of time, and I have so much to ask you. So, are there particular foods that people can eat to assist with detoxification? You've talked about skin brushing, and you've talked about detoxifying the liver with various things, but aside from eating protein and lots of fruit and veg.
Well, to make sure that you detox properly, I would say Yeah, the very easy one are the one with the skin, the bowel movement and the urine. That's great. But then because of the liver detoxification has two phases, you have to make sure that the two phases are working at the same time, because depending on which one is the weakest, you want to make sure that they both work optimally at the same time. And so it's really hard to suggest which food to have, because the food is going to impact either phase 1 or phase 2.
Okay.
And so it depends on the person.
So
again, it depends.
Where could people find more information about that? Because it sounds really interesting, and I'm sure that lots of people would be interested to know about that.
Do you mean to know where they are in their detox, how their liver is working?
Yeah, to read more about detoxifying the liver.
Oh gosh, I learned at college and in the research paper. I never read a book about that.
Okay.
But you will need to do a test to know for yourself where you are. Okay. I think a good thing would be to do a DNA test to know what your genes are telling you, and then a proper test to tell you where you are on the day, and then work from there.
All right. Okay.
But again, that's something you really need.
It's really an individual and personal process because I feel I'm very suspicious of people who no, I'm not suspicious of people. I'm suspicious of the offerings of detox diets and things.
Detox diet and detox
across the board. So anybody can do this, and you stop eating, and then you only eat this kind of food. And I always think, well, really, is that safe for everyone? It feels to me like punishment, like we want to somehow punish ourselves for whatever perceived evil thing that we've been eating, whether we've been eating sugar or alcohol.
I think it's not really a detox. It just unburdens the body of a few things. So it just helps your body digest better, because you're removing so many of the well-known toxins like sugar and alcohol and coffee and all that. So in a way, you detoxify your body, but essentially you're not really detoxifying the way you intend it to be, because you're not doing it in depth. You're doing it superficially.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think about intermittent fasting? Is gaining a lot of traction, and Sarah
Gottfried, yes.
Gottfried is writing it. Her new book is about this. What can you say something about that?
Yeah. So intermittent fasting I believe, is a good tool for women, because when we have a cycle, we don't necessarily feel eating as much or the same thing depending on the days of the cycle. So it's a good thing. The only problem with that is that it can backfire. It can backfire big time depending on your condition. For example, if you have a thyroid condition, or if you have like a blood sugar dysregulation condition, that's something you may not consider. Or if you want to consider it, just go slowly into it. Just not decide, no, one day you eat whenever, and then following day you do the 16-8 hours, 16-8 window, because it's going to sort out or everything. No, because you might faint, or you might feel so bad that is not going to make
It makes me faint thinking about it.
Yeah, I had a consultation with someone one day, and she said that she tried and she almost fainted in the train, because she started from scratch from a very bad place. I'm like, oh, good. Well, it's great that you realize and you stop that, and now you're willing to get help and getting on the right track. But I think it's useful. I think it's if you can get into it, it's about listening to your body and what it needs. And sometimes when you realize that actually leaving a window of not eating longer than the window you're eating is good for the body, because it can rest, it can digest, it can repair what the body needs to repair. So I'm a proponent of that, but not for everyone.
And to go gently.
Yeah, and to go gently. And not everyone wants to give up breakfast, or dinner.
I like about breakfast. Can you imagine that? Breakfast is my favorite meal, because there are so many lovely things to eat.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, that's what I'm giving up so easily because I have to do so much in the morning. Like breakfast is just like, yeah, hardly any time to do anything, to
Oh,
eat.
right. Oh, no.
But I
Breakfast
got
is really
used to
important.
it, so now it's fine. And
Yeah.
I have a lunch like late morning, not at lunchtime.
Okay.
So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that illustrates beautifully that everybody needs something different.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of women don't feel hungry in the morning and they force themselves to eat because they've heard that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And in a way, I agree that the first meal of the day is the more important. But it's counterproductive to force yourself to eat when you're not hungry because your digestion is not going to be in place. I mean, you need your digestive enzyme to digest, and if you're not hungry, you're not going to produce them. So what I'm telling them is just, okay, if you're not hungry in the morning, just don't eat. And then as we work together, they start getting hungry in the morning. I say, well, perfect, just eat now, and then everything runs much smoother. And for some of them, they're just never hungry from the beginning to the end, and say, fine, you've managed your health goals and you're happy, and so I'm happy with it too. Everyone is different. I keep telling them.
So before we close the conversation, could you give us your best tip for a happy menopause and a happy inner life? What is your favorite happy food? It doesn't have to be food.
Oh, so you want a thought or you want a food?
Whatever you fancy.
Okay, so
both. I'm asking for the moon then.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so my favorite happy food now is a piece of beef. It used to be chocolate for dark chocolate. It used to be dark chocolate for a very long time. But in the last 6 months, I realized that I really enjoy beef. And I've studied why. Why am I suddenly attracted to things? And it looks like, my body needs that. And yeah, grilled beef is just my favorite. And for me, the big piece of advice I would give about menopause or perimenopause is just to accept that we're entering a new phase and things are going to be different. And you've got two choices. You can just regret your old life or build a new one even better. And it's all about mindset. And it's an amazing opportunity to do the things that you may not have done before. And you've got the choice to regret or to look forward to it. So.
Choose well, people. If you want to have a listen to Severine's excellent interviews and information on her YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for Severine Menem, and you spell her name Severine, then Menem, Severine Menem. And her website is severinemenem.com. And her Instagram handle is at Severine Menem. That's all one word. But I'm really curious, what small change could you make in your diet today? You could have an extra glass of water or half an avocado. What are you going to do? What could you do today? Please let me know. Jump over on Instagram where you can find me at Kate_Codrington. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you like this episode, please be generous. Share it all over the shop with your friends, your aunties, your colleagues. Be generous because they need to know this stuff too. And I'll see you very soon for another episode of Inside Job.